Island, Chapter 11. What I Heard in the Apple Barrel. "Oh, not I," said Silver. "Flint was captain. I was quartermaster along with my timber leg. The same broadside I lost my leg, old Pew lost his deadlights. It was a master surgeon, him that amputated me out of college and all, Latin by the bucket and what not. But he was hanged like a dog and sun-dried like the rest at Corso Castle. That 'twas Robert's men's, that was, and kind of changing names to their ships, Royal Fortune and so on. Now what a ship was christened, so let her stay, I says. So it was with the Cassandra, as brought us all safe home from Malabar after England took the Viceroy of the Indies. So it was all the old Walrus, Flint's old ship, as I've seen amuck with the red blood and fit to sink with gold." "Ah," cried another voice, that of the youngest hand on board, and evidently full of admiration. "He was a flower of the flock, was Flint." "Davis was a man too, by all accounts," said Silver. "I never sailed along of him, first with England, then with Flint. That's my story. And now here on my own account, in a manner of speaking, I laid 900 safe from England, and 2,000 after Flint. That ain't bad for a man the mast, all safe in the bank. 'Tain't earning now, it's saving, does it? You may lay to that. Where's all England men now? I don't know. Where's Flint? Why, most of 'em on board here and glad to get the duff. Been begging before that, some of 'em. Old Pew has lost his sight and might have thought shame. Spends £1,200 a year like a lord in Parliament. Where is he now? Well, he's dead now and under hatches. But for 2 year before that, shiver me timbers, the man was starving. He begged and stole, he cut throats, and he starved, and that by the powers. Well, it ain't much use after all," said the young seaman. "'Tain't much use for fools, you may lay to it, that or nothing," cried Sulphur. "But now, you look here, you're young, you're smart as paint. I see what you are, I see my eyes on you, and I'll talk to you like a man." You may imagine how I felt when I heard this abominable old rogue addressing another in the very same words of flattery he had used to myself. I think, if I had been able, that I would have killed him through the barrel. Meantime he ran on, little supposing he was overheard. "Here it is about gentlemen of fortune. They lives rough and they risks swinging, but they eat and they drink like fighting cocks. And when a cruise is done, why, it's hundreds of pounds instead of hundreds of farthings in their pocket. Now the most goes for rum and a good fling and the sea again with their shirts. But that's not the course I lay. I puts it all away, some here, some there, and none too much anywheres, by reason of suspicion. I'm 50, mark you, once back from this cruise. I set up a gentleman in earnest. Time enough too, says you. But I've lived easy in the meantime, never denied myself of anything my heart desires, and slept soft and ate dainty all my days, but when I was at sea. And how did I begin? Before the mast, like you." "Well," says the other, "but all the other money's gone now, ain't it? You ain't dared show your face in Bristol after this." "Why, where might you suppose it was?" asked Silver derisively. "At Bristol and Bankston places," answered his companions. "It were," said the cook, "and it were when we weighed anchor. But my old missus has it all now, and the spyglass is sold, leased, and goodwill and rigging, and the old girl's off to meet me. I would tell you where, for I trust you, but I'd make you jealous among the mates." "Can you trust your missus?" asked another. "Gentlemen of fortune," returned the cook, "usually trust little among themselves, and right they are, you may lay to it. I've had a way with me, I have. When a mate brings a slip on his cable, one knows me, I mean. It won't be the same world with old John. There was some of it that was feared of Pew, and some that was feared of Flint, but Flint his own self was feared of me. Feared he was and proud. They was the roughest crew afloat, was Flint's. The devil himself would have been feared to go to sea with them. Well, now, I tell you, I'm not a boasting man, and you've seen yourself how easily I keep company. But when I was quartermaster, lambs wasn't the word for Flint's old buccaneers. Ah, you may be sure of it yourself in old John's ship." "Well, I'll tell you now," replied the lad. I didn't half a quarter like the job I had this talk with you, John, but there's my hand on it now." "And a brave lad you were, and smart too," answered Silver, shaking hands so heartily that all the barrel shook. "And finer figurehead for a gentleman of fortune I'd never clapped my eyes on. By this time I had begun to understand the meaning of the term. By a gentleman of fortune, they plainly meant neither more nor less than a common pirate. And the little scene I had overheard was the last act in the corruption of one of the honest hands, perhaps the last one left aboard. But on this point I was soon to be relieved, for Silver giving a little whistle, a third man strolled up and sat down by the party. "Dick Square," said Silver. "Oh, I know Dick Square," returned the voice of the coxswain, Israel Hands. "He's no fool as Dick," and he turned his quid and spat. "But look here," he went on, here's what I want to know. Barbecue, how long are we going to stand off in like a blessed bumboat? I've almost a most of Captain Smollett. He's hazed me long enough, by thunder. I want to go into that cabin, I do. I want their pickles and wines in that." "Israel," said Silver, "your head ain't much account, nor ever was. But you're able to hear, I reckon. Leastways, your ears is big enough. Now, here's what I say. You'll board forward, and you'll live hard, and you'll speak soft, and you'll keep sober till I give the word. And you may lay to that, my son." "Well, I don't say no, do I?" growled the coxswain. "What I say is when. That's what I say." "When, by the powers!" cried Silver. "Well now, if you want to know, I'll tell you when. The last moment I can manage, and that's when. Here's a first-rate seaman, Captain Smollett, sails the blessed ship for us. Here's the squire and the doctor with the map and such. I don't know where it is, do I? No more than you do, says you. Well then, I mean the squire and doctor shall find the stuff and help us get it aboard, by the powers. Then we'll see. If I was sure of you all sons of double Dutchmen, I'd have Captain Smollett navigate us halfway back again before I struck." "Why, we're all seamen aboard here, I should think," said the lad Dick. "We're all forecastle hands, you mean," snapped Silver. "We can steer a course, but who's to set one? That's what you gentlemen split on, first and last. If I had my way, I'd have Captain Smollett work us back into the trades at least. Then we'd have no blessed miscalculations and a spoonful of water a day. But I know the sort you are. I'll finish with them at the island as soon as the blunt's on board, and a pity it is. But you're never happy till you're drunk. Split my sides. I've a sick heart to sail with the likes of you." Easy all along, John," cried Israel. "Who's a crossin' of you? Why, how many tall ships, think ye, now have I seen laid aboard? And how many brisk lads dying in the sun at Execution Dock?" cried Silver. "And all this same hurry and hurry and hurry. You hear me? I've seen a thing or two at sea, I have. If you would only lay your course and point to a windward, you would ride in carriages, you would. But not you. I know you. You've had a mouthful of rum tomorrow and go hang. Everybody knowed you was a kind of chaplain, John, but there's others as could hand and steer as well as you," said Israel. "They liked a bit of fun, they did. They was all so high and dry, nohow. But they took their fling like jolly companions, every one." "So," says Silver. "Well, and where are they now? Pugh was that sort. He died a beggar man. Flint was, and he died of rum at Savannah. Ah, they was a sweet crew, they was. Only where are they now?" "But," asked Dick, "when do we lay 'em athwart? What are we going to do with 'em anyhow?" "There's the man for me," cried the cook admiringly. "That's what I call business. Well, what would you think? Put 'em ashore like maroons? That would have been England's way. Or cut 'em down like that much pork? That would have been Flint's or Billy Bones." "Billy was the man for that," said Israel. "Dead men don't bite," says he. Well, he's dead now hisself. He knows the long and short of it now, and if ever a rough hand come to port, it was Billy. "Right you are," said Silver, "rough and ready. But mark you here, I'm an easy man. I'm quite the gentleman, says you. But this time it's serious. Duty is duty, mate. I give my vote death. When I'm in Parliament, riding on my coach, I don't want none of these sea lawyers in the cabin a coming home, unlooked for like a devil at prayers. Wait is what I say, but when the time comes, why, let her rip." "John," cries the coxswain, "you're a man." "You say so, Israel, when you see," said Silver. "Only one thing I claim. I claim Trelawney. I'll wring his calf's head off his body with these hands. Dick," he added, breaking off, "you just jump up like a sweet lad and get me an apple to wet my pipe like. You may fancy the terror I was in. I should have leaped out and run for it if I had found the strength, but my limbs and heart alike misgave me. I heard Dick began to rise, and then someone seemingly stopped him, and the voice of Hans exclaimed, "Oh, stow that. Don't you like sucking off that bilge, John? Let's go have a go of the rum." "Dick," said Silver, "I trust you. I've a gauge in the keg, mind. There's a key. You fill a pannikin and bring it up." Terrified as I was, I could not help thinking to myself that this must have been how Mr. Arrow got the strong waters that destroyed him. Dick was gone but a little while, and during his absence Israel spoke straight on the cook's ear. It was but a word or two that I could catch, and yet I gathered some important news. For beside other scraps that tended the same purpose, this whole clause was audible. "Not another man of them will jine." Hence there were still some faithful men on board. When Dick returned, one after another of the trio took the pannikin and drank. One to luck, another, "Here's to old Flint," and Silver himself sang in a kind of song, "Here's to ourself, and hold your luff, plenty of prizes and plenty of duff." Just then a sort of brightness fell upon me in the barrel, and, looking up, I found the moon had risen, and was silvering the mizzen top and shining white on the luff of the foresail. And almost at the same time the voice of the lookout shouted, "Land ho!" This is the end of chapter 11. So here we have the Long John. Now we know for sure that he's a pirate, that he's going to be doing bad things. Now we know for sure, that he is that. But he has better plans, better cunning, more foresight than Squire Trelawney did. Because, Trelawney blabbed, "Oh, yeah, we're going for treasure. Here's where it is." Long John is like, "No, we keep it quiet, keep the minimum of people. We wait until the last moment." He knows that the captain is good at steering the ship. He knows that the captain can navigate. And he's uncertain of his navigational abilities, and he's not sure that anyone else can. And you really don't want to be stuck in the doldrums. There is a series of trade winds. Trade winds go east in one part of the ocean, west in another part of the ocean. So what they could do is they could go west over here, go south, and then cut back east, and then go north. But in between, there was this area called the doldrums, where there was very little wind. Because what happens is you have the wind going both ways on either side, and so in the middle it just kind of sits there. Occasionally you catch these little circular curlicues that can take you from the east into the west, but you had to be very careful, or else you could get stuck in the doldrums, and this could happen unexpectedly. And if you're a sailboat out in the middle of the ocean and the sails are gone, there is no wind, you are going nowhere. And so you would you'd just be stuck there for days. And that's what he was talking about, tablespoon of water. Because if they were stuck out of the trade winds in the doldrums, they would have to wait for the weather pattern to shift. And that can take a week. So here they were. If they were crossing in 3 weeks, all of a sudden it could turn into 5 or 6. And you only have so much food and so much water because you have to take all of it with you because you can't drink the seawater. Now, there's a famous poem that I'm probably going to recite to you later by Samuel Taylor Coleridge called The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And it starts out, "Water, water everywhere, and not a drop to drink." It's talking about a ship being stranded in the doldrums, where the ship is stuck in the water because there's no wind blowing, nothing to move it, and they're running out of drinking water. And you can't drink the ocean water because it's far too salty. If you try drinking the ocean water, you'll get sick and vomit and be even more dehydrated and worse off than you were to begin with. So it's water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. So Long John is like, okay, we get to the island, we get the stuff on board, and then maybe I'll consider it. Long John actually wants to get 3/4 of the way back to England and then kill everybody and dump them overboard. Figure, Just that little short bit. Once they know, okay, this is the trade winds, it's pointing straight at England, any fool can just like follow the wind and get home. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, land sighted. Jem was in the apple barrel just as the full moon was shining down on him. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. This is exciting.